Emma glared at her own reflection, having meticulously curated an ensemble designed to repel any living soul. The baggy jumper, marred by ancient latte spills, paired with greasy hair and clashing socks, went beyond simple negligence. It was tactical warfare. "Masterpiece," she whispered to the empty room. "He'll be sprinting for the exit before the appetizers land." Miles away, Michael was frantically coordinating childcare, oblivious to the toddler-sized smear of jam on his collar and completely blind to the fact that his universe was about to shift on its axis. Before we dive deeper, if this story is tugging at your heartstrings, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales about how romance often blindsides us exactly when we have built walls to keep it out. Emma Jenkins had signed a permanent hiatus on romance following the catastrophic detonation of her previous relationship. Her partner of 3 years had branded her suffocatingly ambitious, right before trading her in for a woman who, to quote him directly, didn't threaten his fragile masculinity. The split happened precisely when she nailed the senior editor role at the publishing firm, a title she had clawed her way toward for years. The cosmic joke was obvious. Soaring career, cratering heart. Self-imposed exile isn't a life plan, her best friend, Lily, argued over their Sunday mimosas. "It has been 8 months, Em." "Observe," Emma retorted, violently stabbing a piece of sourdough. "I am blissfully happy with my library, my feline, and my streaming queue," Lily scoffed. "Already handled. You have a blind date." Emma practically inhaled her drink. "Excuse me?" "His name is James, corporate attorney. Ryan knew him in undergrad. He is attractive and literate, so don't even think about bailing." Friday, 7 o'clock, Cafe Bellini. Emma groaned. "I loathe you." "You'll be singing my praises by Saturday," Lily shot back with smug assurance. That fateful brunch led directly to this moment. Emma, standing before her glass, meticulously engineering the least appealing version of herself. If she couldn't escape the obligation, she would simply accelerate the rejection. No high-powered attorney would waste 5 minutes on a woman looking like she'd just wrestled a raccoon in a discount bin. The strategy was foolproof. Arrive disheveled, project zero personality, and feign a migraine before the main course. James would tell Ryan she was a nightmare. Lily would finally retire from matchmaking, and Emma could retreat to her sanctuary of silence. On the other side of the city, Michael Taylor was navigating a meltdown of his own. "Daddy, please stay," 6-year-old Sophie wailed, anchoring herself to his ankle as he wrestled with a loafer. "It is only for 2 hours, sweet pea," Michael soothed. "Mrs. Rodriguez is coming over. You love her, right? I bet she brought those cinnamon treats you like." Sophie's chin quivered. "But what if you don't come back, like Mommy didn't?" The question fractured Michael's heart, reopening a wound that hadn't truly healed in the 2 years since losing his wife. He dropped to one knee, locking eyes with the miniature version of his late wife. "Sophie, listen to me. I will always return to you, no matter what." The chime of the doorbell signaled Mrs. Rodriguez's arrival. Michael sent a silent prayer of gratitude for the neighbor who had stepped in as a grandmother figure when their world fell apart. "You are saving my life tonight," Michael whispered to the elderly woman at the door. "I won't be out late." "Hush now, take your time," she replied warmly. "You need fresh air. Lisa would have wanted you to live your life." Michael offered a tight nod, fighting the guilt churning in his stomach. Even though logic told him Lisa wouldn't want him to be a monk, stepping out felt like cheating. Truthfully, he was only doing this to silence his brother, who hovered over him like a nervous hen. "Her name's Emma," his brother had pitched. "Friend of a friend. She's in publishing. Just eat some food and talk to a human being who doesn't watch cartoons all day." Behind the wheel, the anxiety hit him. He hadn't been on a first date since his dorm room days, long before Lisa. What was the protocol? Do you lead with the kid? Most single women sprinted in the opposite direction at the first mention of a playground. Then there was the widower label, a heavy cloud that tended to suck the oxygen out of any light-hearted banter. A glance at his wrist confirmed he was running behind schedule. Fantastic start. The restaurant was already humming with the Friday night rush. Emma had timed her entrance to be exactly 5 minutes late, aiming to radiate irresponsibility from the very first second. Checking in, she dropped into the booth and aggressively ruffled her hair, aiming for deranged swamp witch to ensure this guy bolted before the breadbasket hit the table. 10 minutes drags by. No James. She glanced at her phone. Screen blank, no rescue texts. Honestly, getting stood up would be a mercy killing. She could bail, grab takeout, and tell Lily the universe had intervened. Emma froze. This guy was definitely not the high-powered, stiff-collared attorney she'd been mentally preparing to dismantle. His button-down was wrinkled, and was that a sticky handprint on his collar? God, I am so sorry I'm late, he panted. Sitter crisis. I'm Michael, by the way. Michael, Emma repeated, brow furrowing. I'm supposed to be meeting a James. His face dropped. And I'm here for an Emma. Emma Jenkins? That's me. But I don't know a Michael Taylor. My brother. A warm, rich laugh bubbled up from his chest. Let me guess. My brother said this was a quick coffee at 6:30, not a sit-down dinner at 7. A smile tugged at her lips to spite herself. Lily is a tactical genius when it comes to meddling. May I? Michael gestured to the empty seat. Emma paused. This was drifting into uncharted territory. The plan was to scare off a boring suit named James, not entertain a frazzled, kind-eyed dad who looked like he'd sprinted from a bedtime negotiation. Sure, she heard herself say. As he settled in, the reality of her outfit hit her. The coffee-stained sweater, the mismatched socks peeking out from her too short pants, the bird's nest hair. She had curated this look to repel a specific demographic, but sitting across from this guy, she just felt ridiculous. Look, I have to confess, she started, voice tight. I wasn't exactly thrilled about tonight. Michael's eyebrow shot up. The socks were the opening statement, he teased, his grin easy and judgment-free. The sweater with the artisanal coffee stain was the closing argument. Emma groaned, burying her face in her hands. I am mortified. Don't be. It's actually kind of great. Usually these things are full of people performing. You know, the highlight reel version of themselves. At least you're honest about hating this. The server appeared, and Michael requested a glass of red. Emma, still blushing, ordered the same. When they were alone again, Michael leaned in. Since we're both victims of a conspiracy, let's hit reset. I'm Michael, architect, hopeless in the kitchen, and single dad to a 6-year-old hurricane named Sophie. And this is my first date since I lost my wife 2 years ago. The raw honesty hung in the air, silencing Emma's internal monologue. I'm so sorry, she said softly. He gave a small, appreciative nod. Thank you. Your turn. Emma took a breath. I'm Emma, senior editor at Horizon. Cat mom. I can cook a 5-course meal, but I'll burn toast. Recently promoted and promptly dumped because apparently ambition is a romance killer. Your ex sounds like a moron, Michael stated flatly. Emma barked out a laugh, startled by his candor. He really was. The wine landed on the table, and Emma felt the tension in her shoulders dissolve. There was something magnetic about him. No pretense, just open curiosity. He looked at her like she was the only interesting thing in the room. So, Michael swirled his wine, eyes dancing. You dress like a vagrant to tank the date. I have to know. What was the grand plan for the rest of the night? Sweatpants, cheap Merlot, and rage editing a manuscript? Emma confessed. Sounds like heaven, Michael mused. Though I'd probably swap the manuscript for constructing an elaborate blanket fortress with Sophie. Structural integrity is key. Emma smiled. Sophie, that's a lovely name. Michael's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Sophie Lisa Taylor. 6 going on 16. Sharp as a tack and twice as stubborn. She sounds amazing. She is. She's also why I haven't been out. Bringing someone new into her orbit, it's terrifying. Emma nodded, eyes softening. I get that. And you? He asked. Why the elaborate self-sabotage tonight? Emma sighed. My last guy, it ended ugly. He claimed I was married to the job, said there was no room for him. He packed his bags the same day I got the senior editor title. Well, congrats on the promotion. Michael raised his glass. And good riddance to the dead weight. That's exactly what Lily said. She's been trying to fix my love life for months. I'd only said yes to stop the nagging, never intending to let this go anywhere. And now? Michael asked, his gaze anchoring hers. The air between them seemed to charge with electricity. Honestly, I'm starting to regret the coffee-stained sweater. Michael let out a low chuckle. If it helps, I was too busy looking at your eyes to notice. They caught my attention long before the clothes did. The sincerity in his voice stopped Emma cold. It didn't sound like a rehearsed pickup line. It felt grounded, real, and incredibly warm. Thank you, she breathed out. By the time the appetizers arrived, the wall she'd built was gone, replaced by an effortless rhythm of conversation. Michael lit up talking about his eco-conscious architecture studio, while Emma traded tales about the wild personalities of the authors she managed. It turned out they were both suckers for classic cinema, mountain trails, and jokes so bad they were good. Hold on, Emma giggled, spoon hovering over the shared mousse. You actually warped the blueprints around a tree just because they wouldn't chop it? Ended up being the living room's main attraction. Michael nodded. Added another $100,000 to the engineering bill, but the oak was 2 centuries old. I had to respect that. That is incredible. I'd actually love to see that in person. The sentence escaped before her filter could catch it. Michael's grin softened into something intimate. I'd like that too. Stepping out into the night air, Emma realized her scheme to ruin the date had failed in the best way possible. Instead of running for the hills, she found herself silently praying he wouldn't say goodbye just yet. I really need to get back to Sophie, Michael said, checking his watch on the pavement. Mrs. Rodriguez is a saint, but at 82, she needs her sleep. Right, of course, Emma replied, masking the sink in her stomach. But I definitely want to do this again, Michael added quickly. Maybe next time, Emma teased. You can impress me with matching socks. I'll see what I can do. He paused. Are you free Sunday? Sophie and I hit the park in the afternoons. She's big on duck feeding. My job is mostly caffeinating and ensuring she doesn't nosedive into the pond. High-stakes stuff. Emma froze slightly. Meeting the kid was jumping into the deep end. Michael caught the hesitation instantly. Moving too fast? Maybe a little, Emma confessed. Totally fair. Let's do dinner instead, just the adults. Next Friday? That sounds perfect, Michael beamed. And Emma? I think I would have been intrigued even if you'd worn a trash bag. Watching his taillights fade, Emma couldn't wipe the grin off her face. She grabbed her phone and fired a text to Lily. I still hate you for the fake name stunt, but you might just survive this. The reply pinged back instantly. Spill. Everything. Emma pocketed the device, deciding to keep the magic to herself for a little longer. She wanted to bask in this strange, new feeling of optimism that was chasing away her usual cynicism. By the time Friday rolled around, they were seated at a cozy Italian joint, where the owner greeted Michael by name. Emma had swapped the baggy clothes for a fitted blue dress and actually spent more than 5 minutes styling her hair. The look in Michael's eyes when she walked in made every second of prep worth it. You look absolutely stunning, he murmured. Although I admit I was partly hoping to see what kind of fashion disaster you'd invent for round 2. The cat print onesie was a strong contender, Emma quipped. But I have a strict policy. That's 5th date material only. I'll mark my calendar, Michael winked. The evening somehow managed to outshine their first encounter. With the sabotage act dropped, they dove straight into the real stuff. Childhood scars, career dreams, and the books that shaped them. Sophie's actually been grilling me about you, Michael confessed over the shared tiramisu. She has? Emma blinked, surprised. What did you say? The honest truth. I told her I met a lovely woman named Emma who lives in a library and serves a cat. I suspect the cat was the headline for her. Michael chuckled. 100%. She's been campaigning for a kitten, but with my hours, it's just not feasible right now. So, in her eyes, you're basically a superhero with a feline sidekick. Mr. Darcy is less superhero and more 16 pounds of judgment. The guy sleeps 20 hours a day. Named after the Austin heartthrob? I can spot a literary editor cliché a mile away. Guilty as charged, Emma conceded. I can't help it. I'm a sucker for emotionally distant men who secretly have hearts of gold. Michael cocked an eyebrow playfully. Do I need to work on my moody stare? Please don't. It's actually nice dating an adult who knows how to use his words. The word date lingered in the air, cementing the reality of what was happening. Emma, Michael said, his voice dropping an octave, turning grave. I need to be completely transparent with you. Emma's stomach did a nervous flip. Okay. Navigating this as a single dad is messy. Sophie comes first, always. There are going to be nights I have to bail last minute because she has a fever or a nightmare, or she just needs her dad. My entire existence is calibrated to the school run, soccer drills, and waiting rooms. I get it, Emma said, voice soft. And honestly, Michael pressed on, I'm past the point of flings. I don't have the bandwidth for games, and dragging a revolving door of women through Sophie's life isn't an option. Emma exhaled slowly. That is a heavy conversation for date number 2. I know, and I hate dropping it on you, but I'm falling for you, Emma. Harder than I planned. I need you to know exactly what the stakes are. The transparency was terrified, yet somehow magnetic. I'm falling too, Michael, and I respect your boundaries. We don't need a label yet, she added. Let's just ride this wave at a speed that doesn't feel like a car crash. His fingers brushed hers across the tablecloth, grounding her. Thanks for getting it. The streetlights blurred past the passenger window as thoughts of Sophie flooded Emma's mind. This invisible child she had never laid eyes on, yet who was already steering the ship of this budding romance. Logic said run, but her gut said stay. Standing on her porch, Michael leaned in, soft, fleeting, yet it rattled Emma's bones more than any passion she had felt in a decade. Sleep well, Emma, he whispered. You too, Michael. Watching his taillights fade, she knew she was wading into deep waters. Falling for the man meant inheriting the father, and by default, the daughter. The fortress she had constructed post-heartbreak was showing cracks, and the vulnerability was paralyzing. But over the next month, a comfortable pattern emerged. Fridays were for intimate dinners. Wednesdays meant stolen moments for movies or twilight strolls. Their phones buzzed constantly. Mundane updates and witty banter that had Emma grinning like an idiot during serious editorial reviews. The layers peeled back. She learned about Lisa, the college sweetheart he had lost. They were barely out of school when they exchanged vows, becoming parents at 28. Tragedy struck when Sophie was a toddler. Aggressive breast cancer stole Lisa away in under 12 months. The cruelty of it, Michael confessed one evening on her sofa, is the fading memory. Sophie only has one clear fragment left of her mother singing in the oncology ward. That is the knife twist, he continued, voice low. She barely recalls the woman who gave her life. Just that single melody in a hospital room. She holds on to that scrap of the past like it is oxygen. I can flood her with photo albums and folklore, but I am terrified Lisa is turning into a ghost story instead of a mother. Emma tightened her grip on his fingers. You are the bridge to her past, Michael. That is enough. I feel like a traitor sometimes, he murmured, for daring to breathe again, for finding joy, for wanting you. Would she have wanted you to mourn in the dark forever? Michael sighed. No. She made me promise to live. Right at the end, she made me swear I would not use grief as a shield. She knew my tendency to hide. She sounds incredible. She was a force of nature. And honestly, she would have loved you. The statement hung heavy in the quiet room. It was the highest compliment and the heaviest burden all at once. 4 weeks in, it was time to cross the Rubicon. Meeting Sophie, they coordinated a coincidental run-in at the playground where the duo spent their Sundays. Emma approached with a brightly colored gift bag, her insides doing gymnastics. She located them near the water's edge. Michael on a bench, keeping guard over a tiny figure in a violet coat, tossing crusts to the mallards. He caught her eye. that familiar warmth spreading across his face that still sent her pulse racing. He beckoned her closer. "Soph," he said gently, "come say hi." The child pivoted, fixing Emma with solemn brown eyes that mirrored her father's perfectly. The genetic stamp was undeniable. It was like looking at a miniature Michael. Same messy curls, same intensity. "Are you the Emma?" Sophie demanded. "Guilty," Emma smiled, dropping to a crouch. "And you are definitely Sophie. Dad talks about you constantly." The girl didn't blink. "He says you own a cat." Emma couldn't help but grin. "I do. He goes by Mr. Darcy." "That is a weird name for a kitty." "A bit fancy, right? He is named after a grumpy guy in a famous old book." Sophie processed the data. "Dad says your job is books." "It is. I help authors fix their mistakes. Kind of like a word doctor." "Like a teacher?" "Close enough." Sophie nodded, accepting the logic. "Is the cat here?" Emma laughed softly. "No, Mr. Darcy is strictly an indoor gentleman, but I brought a stand-in." She offered the bag. Sophie shot a glance at her dad, waiting for the green light. At his nod, she dove in. Her expression shifted as she retrieved a velvety black plush kitten. "It does not meow," Emma whispered conspiratorially. "But he is good for cuddles." "I love him," Sophie announced, crushing the stuffed animal against her purple coat. "I'm christening him Mr. Darcy II, the little girl declared. "It fits him beautifully," Emma beamed. Sophie didn't reply immediately, her gaze lingering on Emma with a child's intense scrutiny before making a decision. "Time for the ducks," she stated. "You can tag along, if you want." "I'd love to," Emma replied, her heart swelling at the peace offering. Approaching the water, a tiny, warm palm slid unexpectedly into Emma's, anchoring her to the moment with innocent gravity. The silent vote of confidence forced Emma to blink rapidly, fighting back a sudden wave of emotion. From the park bench, Michael observed the pair, his face a battleground of anxiety and yearning. Catching Emma's eye, he didn't speak, but his lips formed two silent words. "Thank you." Her return smile was soft, acknowledging the massive emotional hurdle they had just cleared together. The playdate bled into the evening, with Michael steering them home for a meal. Before food, however, Sophie dragged Emma upstairs for the grand tour, a curated museum of geology finds, favorite paperbacks, and framed memories beside her bed. "That's Mommy," the child whispered, tapping the glass where a radiant woman laughed, frozen in time. "She's with the angels now," Emma murmured, crouching down to eye level. "She was absolutely stunning. Daddy says I'm her twin, but I see his face in the mirror." Emma studied the girl's features. "Honestly, you're the perfect mix of the two." Sophie seemed satisfied with that verdict before pivoting. "Can you do plaits? Dad tries, but he makes a total mess of it." "My ears are burning," Michael hollered from the corridor, prompting a fit of giggles from his daughter. "Guilty as charged," she laughed. "And yes, I'm pretty handy with a braid. Want a tutorial later?" "Please," Sophie chirped, then instantly shifted gears. "How do you feel about mac and cheese?" "It's on the menu tonight. Top-tier food." "It's a delicacy," Emma agreed solemnly. "One of my absolute favorites," Emma promised. The meal was laid back, served family style in the warm glow of the kitchen. The 6-year-old held court, spinning tales about her playground sidekick Zoe and a certain Ms. Martinez, whose parrot apparently guest lectured on occasion. Once the bedtime stories were done and lights out achieved, the adults collapsed onto the sofa, wine glasses in hand. "We survived," Michael exhaled, the tension finally leaving his shoulders. "She's incredible, Michael. Sharp, hilarious. She's got your spirit." "She's a fan. That plushie was a masterstroke." "I was winging it," Emma admitted. "My resume is pretty thin on child diplomacy." He laced his fingers through hers. "You were a natural. Seriously. She keeps her guard up usually." "Especially since losing Lisa." Emma rested her cheek on his shoulder. "It means the world that you let me in. I'm just grateful you're willing to deal with our baggage." "It's not baggage," Emma corrected softly. You two are my priority. He leaned in then, sealing the sentiment with a tender kiss that promised a future. As the seasons turned, Emma wove herself seamlessly into the fabric of their daily routine. She became a fixture at popcorn-filled movie marathons and Sunday playground excursions, even gluing fingers together for a literature diorama. She even introduced the real Mr. Darcy to his namesake, which thrilled the little girl. But it wasn't all sunshine. The first true meltdown, a scream-filled protest against sleep, left Emma paralyzed in the hallway. She had retreated, letting the father handle the daughter, suddenly feeling like a stranger crashing a private moment. Sorry you had to see that, Michael had murmured later, eyes heavy with fatigue. Stop. She's a child. It happens. It's more than that, he sighed. This is the unglamorous truth of my life. It's not just fun outings. It's screaming matches, homework wars, and me being too drained to function. Emma had cupped his jaw, forcing him to look at her. Michael, I didn't sign up for a fantasy. I want the whole package, chaos included. Yet other obstacles tested them, like the night Sophie woke up screaming from a bad dream and cried out for Emma, not her father. Or the cringeworthy moment at school when a teacher naturally assumed Emma was the mom. Then came the direct interrogation. Are you my new mommy? Emma had tread lightly. Your mother is irreplaceable, but I love your dad, and I love hanging out with you more than anything. Sophie nodded, satisfied, but the weight of the question hung over the adults. Half a year in, Emma was essentially a resident. Her wardrobe had migrated to his closet. Her toiletries claimed shelf space. She had memorized the tuck-in rituals and established herself as the Saturday morning pancake chef. Quiet settled over the house one evening. Michael grabbed her hand, his thumb tracing her knuckles. I've been doing some math, he murmured. Should I be worried? She quipped. Hilarious. I'm attempting to have a moment here. Emma softened. Sorry, I'm listening. You're practically living here. I know your apartment contract ends in 30 days. Maybe just let it go? Emma's pulse spiked. Is this a cohabitation proposal? Yes. Well, no. Kind of. Michael raked a hand through his hair, his classic nervous tic. I'm botching this completely. Before she could process his words, he slid to the floor, dropping to one knee and revealing a velvet box. Michael. The name barely escaped her lips. I spent days rehearsing what I wanted to say, he confessed. I wanted to tell you that you showed up exactly when I'd given up on romance, how you somehow managed to chase away the shadows in this house, and how my daughter thinks you hung the moon, almost as much as I do. But honestly, it's not that complicated. He flipped the lid, exposing a shimmering solitaire. I am completely in love with you, Emma Jenkins. I adore how you chew on that red pen when you're deep in editing mode. It kills me how you weep through tragedies and pretend you've just got something in your eye. I even love that you wore that hideous outfit the night we met, just to keep your guard up. And the way you took Sophie into your heart without ever trying to erase her mom, that means everything. I want every single part of you, forever. Do me the honor of becoming my wife? Emma's cheeks were already wet. Absolutely, she choked out. 1,000 times, yes. He slid the band home and crushed her in a hug, only to be cut short by a quiet murmur from the corridor. So, is Emma not leaving? They spun around to find Sophie hovering in her sleepwear, squeezing the life out of Mr. Darcy Jr. Soph, it's way past your bedtime, Michael scolded gently, unable to hide his grin. You guys were loud, she reasoned, stepping closer. Wait, is that jewelry? Zoe's mom got one of those when her stepdad proposed. The couple shared a knowing look. You caught us, Emma admitted. Your father wants to make us official, and I agreed. But hey, nothing changes unless you want it to. The little girl pondered this with grave intensity. Our Saturday pancake breakfast still happening? Without fail. And my reading assignments? Every single time. What about Mr. Darcy? Does he get to stay? Emma giggled, wiping her eyes. Mr. Darcy is part of the package deal. Sophie gave a firm nod. Then I approve. She scrambled up onto the sofa, wedging herself into the middle. Do I get to toss the petals at the ceremony? Zoe did it, and she had this amazing gown. I'm sure we can make that happen, Michael replied, pulling his girls into a huddle. Nestled there in the warmth of their new reality, Emma's mind drifted back to their disastrous beginning. She remembered sabotaging her appearance to repel him, terrified of vulnerability, only to stumble into the exact happiness she'd been avoiding. They kept the nuptials private, gathering in the lush greenery of the arboretum where Michael had drafted the blueprints for the welcome hall. Sophie, looking regal in a violet gown of her own choosing, treated her job with military precision, placing each rose petal with intent. Just before the music started, Lily leaned in to whisper, "Recall that time you intentionally dressed like a bag lady for your first date with him? Greatest tactical error in history." Emma chuckled. I'm never going to hear the end of that, am I? Not a chance, Lily smirked. But it's a killer anecdote. As Emma met Michael's gaze at the front, seeing the adoration there, she realized that life's masterpieces are often painted on the ruins of our best-laid plans. Later, at the party, Sophie demanded the floor, perching on a seat while her uncle lowered the mic to her level. The first time Emma came over, she brought me a plush kitty, she broadcasted to the room. Now she does my hair, tutors me, and cooks the greatest breakfast ever. My mommy is watching from the stars, but Daddy says hearts are big enough to hold everyone. Emma told me that blood isn't the only thing that makes a family. It's about who you pick, and we picked her. The crowd dissolved into sniffles as Michael scooped her up, merging them into a three-person embrace. Swaying together on the dance floor, Michael murmured close to her temple, I appreciate you wearing those awful clothes back then. She chuckled into his suit jacket. I appreciate you ignoring them. I only saw you, he corrected softly. The person underneath. That's who stole my heart. 5 years down the road, Emma occupied a familiar park bench, observing Michael push their 3-year-old son on the swing set, while 11-year-old Sophie practiced gymnastics nearby. It wasn't a fairy tale every day. The little one threw fits, and preteen hormones were kicking in. Sophie's curiosity about her late mother was growing, bringing new emotional hurdles and plenty of fatigue. Juggling dual professions with parenting 2 kids felt like a circus act sometimes. Yet, gazing at her tribe, her actual family, she knew she wouldn't trade this chaos for the world. She recalled her former self, the scared woman putting on armor to ruin a date before it began. Who knew that the biggest gamble of her life would hit the jackpot? Sophie sprinted over and collapsed onto the seat. Mom, did you catch that? I nailed the landing. Hearing that title still sent a jolt of joy through her veins, even though Sophie had adopted it voluntarily right after they said I do. She reached the milestone on her own terms, moving at her own pace. I saw that, Emma validated warmly. Pretty amazing. Do you think I have what it takes to be a gymnast? Baby, I think you can be anything you set your mind to. Sophie rested her head gently against Emma's side. I am really glad Dad was late for your date that night. Emma let out a soft chuckle. Me too, sweetheart. Believe me, me too. Watching Michael walk up with their son perched on his shoulders, both of them roaring with laughter, Emma felt completely overwhelmed by gratitude. She was thankful for Lily interfering, for Michael running behind schedule, and even for her own clumsy attempts to ruin things. Every twist had led her here, to this bench, this family, and this love. It just goes to show that sometimes the most perfect stories start with the messiest opening chapters. And hers had kicked off with a coffee-stained sweater and socks that did not match. Easily the best, worst outfit she had ever worn. If this story tugged at your heartstrings, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more stories coming that remind us how love usually shows up exactly when we are not looking for it. Sometimes it finds us even when we are running the other way. Never forget that our biggest blessings often show up disguised as bad luck. And the people who are meant to be in our lives will look past our walls to see the person hiding underneath. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.